Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install this Redarc Tow Pro Liberty brake controller on our 2022 Chevrolet Colorado. This is what the finished install is going to look like. Just this very small dial that lets you control the power level anywhere from 10 all the way down to 0. And the button on here is going to be your manual override. If you're familiar with traditional brake controllers, maybe something like the Tekonsha Prodigy P3, they're pretty big and bulky, and in a smaller truck like the Colorado, if you've got your seat moved up even a little, it's going to be a real kicking hazard for your knees. Something like this is going to give you a much cleaner install, and again, no worries about getting hit by your legs as you're getting in and out of the vehicle here. This is probably a pretty comfortable driving position for me, and this is at least still reachable with my hand. You know, my legs are up pretty close to the steering wheel here, and I just can't help but feel like if I had a brake controller down here that stuck out a couple of inches, it'd be really uncomfortable and hard to reach. So this is going to be a proportional brake controller, which means the harder that we hit our brakes, the harder that it's going to apply our trailer brakes. You still retain the manual override feature with that button, and you can always control the sensitivity here with this dial. It'll work with trailers up to 2 axles. So if you've got more than that, you'll need to pick a different brake controller out that'll work. And it'll work with electric or electric over hydraulic brakes. As far as the install goes, it's going to be pretty straightforward. You are going to have to tie into some wiring, but it's luckily very accessible on your Colorado, and we'll show you right where that is. And it's going to be a little bit cramped underneath the dash where you actually hook up the module box that does the controlling. Luckily, it's all tucked away and hidden when the install is done. It just means that during the install, you're going to be in some hard to reach places. So we'll walk you through the process and show you how we got ours installed today. So we're going to start our installation off looking for a place to mount our module box for our brake controller and the dial to control it. You want to do these things first so that you can kind of get a game plan of where things are going to go and make sure you have clearance. So to do that, there's going to be a panel right underneath our steering wheel here. That's likely going to be the home for our dial. I'm going to say right about here, but we're going to remove this and make sure that will actually work. So there's going to be 2 7mm screws tucked underneath that you need to remove. With those screws undone, you can grab in this corner to the left of your steering wheel and pull out to release some of the clips, and just work your way to the edge where there will be a few more clips, and work your way around the other side of that steering wheel. With this down, we're going to get a lot more room to work, and we can see that this spot right here where I was kind of eyeballing for the switch, it's completely open around the back, and it's going to line up with this open slot right here when I put it back up. So that's going to be the perfect home for our dial to control it. It's going to be easily within reach, right by our headlight controls, and it's not going to interfere with anything around back. As for the module box, space is really limited up there, so we've got it mounted to a factory stud that was located directly off those wires that are all connecting to that computer box. And then for one of the other locations, we just zip tied through the bracket that stud is attached to. You may find a different method of mounting this in your own Colorado, but this is what worked best for us, and used a factory stud, so no modifications were really needed. I've put a piece of painter's tape roughly where I want that dial to live. And remember, we verified that it's clear on the other side. I'm going to just clip this back into place so it holds itself still on me. And you can take this plastic bezel from your kit, hold it up, and be very careful with this part because you don't want it to shift around on you, but we'll use this as a template to mark out the holes we want to drill. So got our main one right there, and then the small one at the top, and you want that top one in the 12 o'clock position pointing straight up. Those marked, I can come back through with a 3/8 and a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill out those holes. We're going to go really slow and start with a pilot hole in that center. And I'm using that 1/8 for my pilot hole, so I'm just going to move straight up to the top and drill out my 1/8. Now once the pilot hole has been drilled, we can take that painter's tape back and finish drilling out that bottom hole because we know where it is. You can then take the connector for your switch, that's the back of it, and here's the front with the dial, and the nut. These two will thread together very gently. It's got a very low torque spec on it. Hand tight is going to be pretty good. But pass this through the hole we just drilled with that small LED light up top going through our smaller 1/8" hole. And we should see the knob go out the front there. Get my hand out of your way. Insert that nut and start to just thread it in by hand. And just to make sure it's caught, you can pull back, and if it releases, then you know you're not threading in yet. So just be very gentle with it. Get those threads to catch. Right there, we're started. So I'm just going to go hand tight and take my socket, which is a 12mm, and just use that to get a little bit of extra turn out of it. Like I said, doesn't need to be super tight. You can then take that small dial in the center, turn it all the way to the left until it doesn't turn anymore, and take our button, or our dial, find the 0 right there, and have it so that 0 is pointing straight up, and just push it into place. And now, we can't turn it any more to the left, but if we turn it to the right, we'll go all the way up to 10 where it stops out, and the button works too. So now we've got that all set up. We're ready to take our wiring harness and start to connect it to the wires on our vehicle, which can be located under the driver's side kick panel. So we've got our floor mat up if you have one. It's going to make it a little bit easier to reach under here and just start to pry up. You'll be able to get your fingers under the panel there and just pull up and kind of work your way back towards the seat, and some clips will release. Then we can move our way towards the pedals and start to pull kind of back, and that will release a clip that's straight there. And we'll just set this to the side for now. And if we go into where that kick panel used to be, there should be a bundle of wires here that's kind of taped together at the end. We want 4 of those in total. These are going to be the wires that we are hooking into. And just pull that tape off to open them all up at the end. We should have 4 of these wires in total. And we're going to do these just one at a time because it's going to be a little bit easier to keep them all straight. And our red wire here on the vehicle side is going to be our power wire, and that is a live wire. We want to strip that back, put a butt connector on it, and hook it up just so it doesn't make contact with any of the other wires and short it out. We'll start by just trimming some of that tape back. Once you've got that there, you can strip back some of the sheathing. We'll twist the ends together. Slide a butt connector over that end and crimp it into place. On the wiring harness end, that's going to tie into the black wire. That's our power wire. We'll just repeat that same process where we slide it into our butt connector and crimp it down. And just give it a quick tug to make sure that connection's secure. Now at this point, you can repeat that process for the remaining 3 wires. The blue wire from our harness is going to go to the blue wire on our vehicle. The red wire on our harness is going to go to the white wire on our vehicle. And the white wire on our harness is going to go to the black wire on our vehicle. With all my connections made, I'm just tucking that wire up behind this harness right here. I'll push down our parking brake so you can maybe see that a bit better. And right under here, there's another wire. I'm just going to pass it over that to make sure it's clear of our parking brake and connect this into our module box directly above it. Then we can take our wire that connects the button and dial to the module box and hook that up. So I'm going to take the end that doesn't have a right angle, it's just a straight connection, plug it into the back of our dial. Once I hear it click, I can take the other end, feed it back through that hole, and I'll have to get up under the dash and plug this into that module box. It's going to be another really tight fit. So if you wanted to, you could maybe do this step before you zip tie it in place or secure it. If you can reach, then that'll be fine too. If you look back there, you'll be able to see the top of the connector for that module box. Again, on camera, it's probably going to be impossible to see because we can't get our light back there too. Once it's connected, you can always test it out by pressing the button on your dial, making sure that LED indicator lights up, and we're looking good. So I'm going to button all this back up by pushing this back into place and then reinstalling our kick panel. We connected to our trailer test box or trailer simulator box. For you at home, this would be a great time to just hook up to your trailer directly, and you should see this green and blue flashing indicator. That means that this is going to be in calibrating mode. So if you've got your trailer handy, hook up, go to a parking lot, drive and get up to about 20, 25 miles an hour and hit the brakes pretty hard a couple times. That'll help the whole unit calibrate, and that module box under there will learn its sense of direction. And eventually it'll turn to a solid light, letting you know that you're calibrated. If you don't have your trailer accessible, this will auto-calibrate just with normal driving. And again, as you're driving around, hitting the brakes, it'll eventually learn its orientation and calibrate that way. When you have your trailer hooked up, you can also hit the button. You'll see a different color light. That's the manual override that we're pressing, and your trailer brake should be kicking on whenever that happens. With both the dash panel and the kick panel reinstalled, you're done. It's a pretty simple installation. All the wiring that you need is really accessible on your Colorado, and you're left with a very clean install on this Redarc Pro Liberty Brake Controller on a 2022 Chevrolet Colorado. Thanks for watching.